to the Lone Pine Real Estate Company podcast and radio show, creating solutions to navigating tricky real estate waters. I'm your host, Rachael, broker and owner of Lone Pine Real Estate Company here in Midcoast, Maine. Real estate isn't always smooth sailing. Whether you're buying, selling, investing, or just trying to figure out your next step, the path can feel overwhelming. That's why this podcast exists, to bring clarity, confidence, and creative solutions to the complex world of real estate. And fun. We all want fun. Each episode will dive into real stories, practical solutions, and expert insight to help you make smart decisions and avoid common pitfalls, all while staying grounded in what matters most: your goals, your future, and your peace of mind. Please note this podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, financial, or real estate advice. Listening to this episode does not create a client-agent relationship. Always consult with a licensed professional about your specific situation. So grab your coffee and join me under the pine. Together we'll chart the course. Okay, welcome back to the Lone Pine Real Estate podcast and radio show. I'm your host, Rachael Umstead. I'm the founder of Lone Pine Real Estate Company here in Maine and also the host of this show. And today we are going to dive into some topics that many people have questions about. Those topics are first-time home buyers and construction loans, and we have an expert here in both areas. Alicia Costa from The First. She is the Vice President and Senior Mortgage Loan Officer at The First, and she has done many first-time homebuyer loans and also many construction loans. So welcome, Alicia. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Me too. So let's dive first into first-time homebuyers.
Okay.
Tell us the advice that you get when you sit down with someone who's a first-time home buyer. How do you start out with them? What advice do you give them?
Sure. So one of my favorite topics, by the way, because there's so much passion to buying your own first home. So when we sit down, we usually sit down and have an initial assessment to talk about what are the things we're going to look at. What are we going to look at? We're going to look at credit.
Okay.
Their ability to pay. What are their income sources? And so we're going to sort of assess that and figure out, do they fit into any programs and which programs are going to give them the most benefit.
Should someone come to you after they start looking at houses? Like, when in the process should they come?
I say first. What do you think?
I say first too, because it kind of gives them boundaries. It's hard for someone to fall in love with a house and then find out that they can't afford it, right?
Absolutely.
Or it doesn't fit the program that they qualify for.
Absolutely. And I always tell our clients, please come in, let's get your pre-approval completed and done before you fall in love with a house, because there's a fast market out there, so we want them to be ready to jump when the right place comes along. So pre-approval first. Sometimes there's a conversation of, should they take a first-time home buyer class first, or should they come in and talk with me first? I usually say, come in and let's just have an initial conversation, and I can help them assess which program is going to give them the most benefit, and then they can dive into those further details. But I like to give them that high level first.
Does everyone qualify for a first-time home buyer program?
No, there's criteria they need to meet. So when we talk, I usually ask them, and I'll say, tell me about your credit. Okay. What have you done to build your credit? Are you renting? Are you staying at home? And we look at these sort of things, and it helps me to figure out, are they ready to make that application? We talk a little bit about, what's your employment? What are your sources of income? And I make sure they're stable and ready. Are they tenured enough? Have they been in their job for a long enough period of time before they get their pre-approval going?
Yeah. And then if people aren't ready, can you help them get ready?
Yes, absolutely. So that conversation helps me to give them advice. And so they could still decide, I'm ready, I want to go ahead and apply, because then it gives me a really clear picture, and I can pull their credit. I can look at what's on the credit report, not just what they think is on the credit report. And it's very clear and definitive, and I can say, okay, you've been in this job for 9 months. Can you stay for 3 more or beyond, so you're nice and stable in this position? Or your credit score, you have some new credit. It looks like you've had a credit card for 9 months, and really you should have a couple trade lines on your credit report. and they should each be a year old. So can we build up some more credit? And I can give them really clear advice to guide them to make it happen so that when they come to see you, they're really ready to make that jump.
Okay, so when they do, so they come in, they have a conversation with you, then you direct them either, here's some advice to get yourself ready, or go ahead and apply for the loan.
Yeah.
So they apply for the loan, and then what's next?
So at that point, I usually tell them what we need. So we want to look at a couple years of tax returns, a pay stub. If they're self-employed, I'm really diving into those couple years of tax returns. And I make an assessment. And so we really figure out, do they meet the criteria of having rental history for 12 months? Is their credit score where it needs to be? And then from there, it's like a puzzle for me. That's the exciting part. I usually say, feed me all the facts, and then I'm gonna sort of put the puzzle together and figure out which program is the best, because there's so many programs. So, do you want me to go into that?
Yeah, what are your favorites?
Yeah.
Tell us your favorites.
Okay, so Maine State Housing Authority. Maine State Housing Authority can be coupled with many programs to give the client so that they have no down payment or a very low down payment option.
And that's government backed.
It's government backed, usually rural development.
And they have guidelines around that.
Absolutely.
Income base.
So there's income criteria, and not just for the borrower. So the borrower can have some nice stable income, but we also have to look at what does the rest of the household have for income.
Okay.
And so that household can't go over whatever threshold it is for the program we pick.
Okay.
So I'll be looking at that criteria and saying, do they fit into the criteria and the threshold for Maine State Housing? And do they make enough money to afford the payment on the flip side? So we look at the income a couple of different ways.
And then what are your other favorite programs? Maine State Housing.
Rural development, I back it with that. The VA, those are really special loans. So we get to help our veterans.
Can someone be a first-time homebuyer and a VA?
Absolutely. They can be a first-time homebuyer and the VA. And the Maine State Housing actually gives extra discounts for that program to the veterans.
And Maine State Housing is the one that gives them a credit towards if they take the classes.
Absolutely.
Right, so they give them a credit. And they also have credits for people who have never been, like historically a homeowner, right?
Absolutely.
Like if they're generationally the first time. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So once we determine they're qualified, we're going through with this program, we're going to focus on Maine State Housing. I'll assess what of the options do they qualify for. And so if they're going to use that program, we have them take the class, they get an advantage certificate, and they get a $5,000 grant towards closing costs.
Wow.
It's a pretty amazing. They still have to prove they're paying at least 1% out of their own pocket from the purchase price. From there, we look at it and say, okay, I'll drill down further. Are they a veteran? Because there could be further perks with that program. And then I'm always asking my clients and explaining to them, I'm not prying, but where did you grow up? Did you grow up with a parent or guardian who owned their home? Or are you coming into this and you've never been in a home that was actually owned? And if that's the case, then they're a first generation owner and the advantage credit will bump up. I think it's $10,000. I have to look at it. Yeah. I've only done that one a couple of times. It's a pretty rare instance and it's very special when it happens.
It's super special.
It's
super special. So, okay, so then they go from applying for the loan, you kind of drill down and figure out which loan program that they qualify for, and then what's next?
So from there, let's say everything looks beautiful. I've given the advice, they've made it happen, they're pre-approved. We have a pre-approval letter. And so I'll usually ask the client, we'll talk through the pre-approval, make sure they understand the program that they're getting into. If there's more than one program they may qualify for, I'll go over the options and the pros and cons of each of them. From there, I'll say, hey, what do you think? Do you want me to send your letter, your pre-approval off to your realtor? Or do you need to think about this? And usually they'll say, yes, I'm ready. And I'll send the letter off to you or and copy the clients and share their congratulations. Then it's time to find a home.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So then they, depending on the program, the home has to sort of match the program, which can be a little tricky in this market.
It can. It is happening. I am seeing it happen. It's so exciting.
It is exciting.
It's becoming a little bit of more of a buyer's market again, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yes, I do.
Good. And so we usually talk a little bit about the collateral. So there's the 3 C's. So the credit, the capacity, which is the income, and then the collateral. And I always tell my clients, really with the pre-approval, it's not involved until we actually know what program you're going to be going into. And so I'll sit in my office with them and I'll look around and say, okay, if you go into a place and there's a cracked window pane and the outlet covers are missing and there's a light in the ceiling with just a cord, there's no light fixture, those are all going to be problems. But if you walk into a house straight out of like the 1960s and it's got shag rug and green appliances, but everything's in perfect condition, that'll work.
Yeah.
We want that perfect condition.
Right. And the non-perfect condition with minor fixes can sometimes work.
Absolutely.
And that's sort of where I come into play to be the problem solver on that side, or another realtor.
Absolutely. Yeah. Common issues we run into that can be, almost any can be overcome, peeling paint all the time. I've seen realtors out there painting houses, roof shingles, stair railings, all are really easy and quick.
Floor coverings.
If
someone's ripped out the carpet in the upstairs, then you have to have a floor covering. With most of these programs.
Absolutely.
And then some programs require water tests, right?
Yep, RD would want a water test. If it's on city water, that's omitted. But if it's on a private well, they would definitely want to make sure that the water is safe and drinkable.
Okay, so then they choose a house. It has to qualify. It goes under contract. What are the next steps?
The next steps are for them to get me the purchase and sales agreement so I can start the process on our end. And so from there, there's like a discussion about where are the rates. Let's get the rate locked in. Has there been any discussion about who you might want to work with for a realtor?
Okay.
Not a realtor, excuse me, an attorney. Yeah, and from there.
And by work with as far as an attorney, what you mean by that is doing the title and closing work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have to have the title search done to make sure they can own that home free and clear.
Right.
And the mortgage can be placed in first position. And then when we're all ready, the attorney will do that closing. And they coordinate the mortgage inspection sketch too.
Right. Very good. And that just the mortgage inspection sketch makes sure that the well, the septic, the buildings are within the boundary lines.
Absolutely. Not a full survey.
Yes. So a lot of people, when I know the first time I bought a house, it was super intimidating. And it sort of felt like going to the doctor.
Absolutely.
Because you kind of have to bear your like personal financial history to someone. What advice do you have for someone who's sort of scared?
Don't be scared. I'm going to guide you. So I tell them up front, and that's where that initial conversation is so helpful, because I can tell them those things to make sure they know what are we going to be looking at. And it sort of prepares them a little bit mentally to know, okay, I'm going to be looking at 2 months of your bank statements. And don't be concerned when I ask you, what is this deposit? Because that is part of the program guidelines. They're going to want to know all the ins and outs of that bank account to make sure that all the sources of income are documented and so on. So it is invasive. However, it's worth the benefit because of the benefits that Main State Housing, for example, gives.
And also, too, I think that just like anything in life, when you're scared of something and you prolong it, you're just like prolonging the work you'll inevitably have to do. So it's a good jumping off point to just come and have a conversation, even if your credit is completely messed up, because if you're trying to fix your credit on your own, sometimes you don't always get it right. Right? I mean,
Absolutely.
Sometimes people pay everything off and have zero credit for years.
You were correct.
Yeah.
Come and talk about it. What are we going to be looking at? So instead of paying everything off, leave 2 trade lines open. So that we will have the credit that we need when it's time.
Okay, great. Thank you for talking about first-time homebuyers. Do you want to add anything else?
I think we've covered it.
Okay, great. So my favorite loan that you do is the construction loan.
Yes.
And I've actually been a customer of yours for the construction loan. I think that there are many construction loan products out there. I happen to love the one at the first. It's a very good program. And it doesn't always mean that someone has to be building from scratch.
No.
And I'm just like doing an introduction, but you're the expert at it. I also love that in the recent market, it was difficult before to be a person having a house built because you kind of were over loan to value sometimes with construction loans when you're building from scratch, but there recently have been a lot more that people have been able to build brand new and purchase and make it work with someone else building their house. So tell us about the construction loan and all the benefits of it. Please.
It's exciting. Almost as exciting as first-time home buyers. So a construction loan, the beauty of it is it's going to look at what is the proposed value of once those renovations or the build is completed. So a lot of people, if they come to us, not necessarily in a purchase, but in a renovation situation where they own their home, they don't have enough equity. So we're going to look at what's that projected value. It doesn't matter if it's a situation where they're coming to you, they're buying land, and then they're going to build a home on there. Or if they're buying a home that needs some renovations, it's a little run down, and they have a contractor who's going to be renovating it, or refinancing and doing construction. All of those scenarios, we're going to look at the construction contract to see what's the work they're going to do. If the home is being built from the ground up, or if the walls are changing, we've got to look at those home plans. And then that appraiser, once the client's all approved, we get an appraiser out there, they're going to say, what's this home worth? And the market value usually is there without any issue because the values are so strong right now. So that client can tap into that proposed equity.
Right.
And say, okay, well, now I can put in my renovated space. I can put in my new windows and doors and my roof, or put on my addition.
And then it rolls into a conventional loan, correct?
It does. It doesn't change the terms necessarily. We usually know those up front. We offer construction to permanent that are terms of either an adjustable rate mortgage or a fixed rate. So they know, okay, going into it, if they go the fixed rate route, this is going to be my rate for the life of the loan.
Okay. So when someone, just to clarify all of this, when someone is looking to build a home and they don't own land, when in the process should they get a construction loan?
So that varies. If they're working with you and they're buying land and they're shopping around for land, they find the perfect lot and they have a seller who's going to give them a little bit of extra timeline to work with a contractor to get the written estimates and the home plans together. Sometimes that works out best if we have a modular home scenario, for example, because then they can give me those home plans, they're ready to make that jump, and they can immediately go ahead, proceed with that. So they've got a purchase of the land plus construction.
So they do it all in one fell swoop, like
one big swoop.
Yeah, they're doing the land purchase and the whole construction plan.
Exactly. So it's a land and home package that we couple together from two different partners. You've got a seller and you've got the home builder. So we would have a closing, the seller is paid and happy, and then I work with the client on their construction and I hold their funds and make those disbursements so they can build their home.
And then there's people who've had land for a while, or maybe they purchased land with cash and they have equity in their lands.
Yeah. And
then they come to you to build a house.
Absolutely.
And then at that point they do a construction loan, correct?
Do.
Is it, if someone purchases land and they have a mortgage on the land, how does it work to then do a construction loan?
So then what we would do is we would pay off the land loan.
Okay.
And then that becomes part of the construction loan.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so when someone is going to buy a house, so you have the 1968 ranch with the shag carpet and the paneling and the kitchen that has the green countertops that you don't like, or
avocado green,
or maybe an avocado green sink, and I know those are back in style.
Yes.
But you want to put in another bathroom, remodel the kitchen, convert, tear down some walls and make the living room bigger. And so you go with your realtor to purchase this house. At that point, you can go apply for a construction loan that covers the purchase and sale. That's correct, right?
Absolutely. And it's pretty exciting. You do have to have a contractor that's ready and available to go through that house with them and say, okay, this is what these things are going to cost. And so they give them that construction contract along with the purchase agreement, and we put them together to give us the total purchase price.
And do you create a buffer in that, or should they, because I know sometimes, could there be a buffer?
There could be.
Okay.
Definitely.
So, because I know that they should be pretty accurate with the estimates, right?
They should. I have some builders right now that are putting on a pretty large contingency. And so they might build in a contingency of upwards of 15%, and I've seen it with some of them. Because they're worried about the overruns, not just with them, but with the subcontractors who are doing the electrical, the plumbing, the earthwork, all of those pieces.
So you need a general contractor to come in and create estimates that will sort of project the future value of the house.
Yes.
And so you get all those estimates for everything you want to have done, and that can cover necessary repairs, like if a septic system is bad. So you have your septic system, you have your kitchen, you have your bathroom, you have the walls you're tearing down, you have this construction contract with your purchase and sale. You bring it to you, and then what happens next?
So that same step, we're going to go ahead and order the appraisal. And so that information is being given to that appraiser to say, okay, here's the current house with the avocado green and the shag rug, but all these renovations are happening, and we've got a new kitchen and a bathroom and the new septic. So once this work is all done, what is the home going to be worth? And so they give us that value that comes back, and they give that enhanced value with all those renovations. And
so then at that point, if it comes back good, at that point they can close on the loan. If everything works out with their credit and they're approved for the loan, it goes through underwriting, they close, and then what happens next?
So from there, if that was a purchase, the seller is paid for their home, and so then that buyer owns their home. I hold the construction funds, and then we wait for the contractor and the homeowner to ask for money. And we make payments to the builder as needed, and we ask the owner to sign off, approving every advance request.
Can they add things to the project after it closes?
No. That's why it's important to have those estimates. Technically they can, if they can pay for those things out of their own pocket.
Right.
Because the loan, once it closes, is the amount set.
Right. And so if they are able, let me just ask this, and you can tell me if I'm playing devil's advocate at this point, but so let's say that they budgeted for their kitchen $20,000 for the cabinets and the countertops. You have to stay within the same, I would assume, grade of materials, because if you say you're getting granite and you get Formica, then it's not the same quality for the appraised value. But if you stay within the same grade, and you're able to save a lot of money on one particular item, let's say the cabinets, instead of like $10,000, they're $7,500.
Absolutely.
So then you have $2,500, and let's say your septic system goes over, it's supposed to be $15,000, but it ends up being $17,500, which doesn't always add up that way.
Yeah,
you can shift
that would be lovely.
You can shift it right to that other category.
Absolutely. And I usually tell my clients, so if they're going to have overages, because it does happen, so I ask them to pay for any differences. If they can't pay, then we have to figure out where down the road in the rest of the budget are we going to be able to make a cut. And so we'll have those conversations, and that's exactly what we talk about. We'll talk about, okay, we can't change something that's going to impact value, but is there something here that we can cut that's not going to make that impact, and we can continue to proceed forward. So it's just a way of...
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
What if the homeowner says, you know what, Alicia, I'll install the kitchen myself?
Perfect. We love them.
They're allowed to?
Well, it's cost-wise, if they're paying for their own cabinets, we love that. They're not allowed to do their own renovations.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
I said install. I was going to say, wow. So they can't, so just to clarify that crystal clearly, is that you can't, if I'm the homeowner and let's say I'm a contractor and I actually know how to install cabinets, which I don't, but if I did, I still can't do that myself. The work has to be done.
Even though I believe you could, Rachel, just to clarify.
Okay,
you
thank
cannot.
you. Okay.
And that actually comes up quite a bit in conversations with clients who are in the field. They want to know, can they do the work themselves? Because they are so experienced. And no, they cannot. So there's some workarounds and conversations we have, and we ask them to sub out and have someone else be the general contractor of their project.
Okay, and then if there's something that they can do that's not included,
yes,
that increases the value,
absolutely,
then they could probably do that.
Yes.
Okay, so then what's the length of time from when you close to when the appraiser comes back to say everything has to be done?
Depends on the project. So if it is a full build, site built home, usually we give 12 months.
Okay.
If someone was coming to me and they're doing some sort of renovation, I usually will say, hey, how long is your contractor saying this is going to take? And if the contractor says, I think it's going to take 3 months, we might do 6 just to be safe. And so we'll customize it for their scenario.
And can they live in the house?
Yes.
In every single house, can you live in it?
Depends on the program. For construction, yes, as long as it's livable.
Okay.
And as long as the town is okay with you living
with
there.
a certificate of occupancy.
Exactly.
And so then if it's a construction loan, at that point, it would, like, from, what I mean, they're all construction loans. What I mean is it's from the ground up. You have to have a certificate of occupancy before you start living there, correct?
Correct, generally. Depends on the town. Not all towns issue them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So then, do you have to have a separate closing once you finish your house?
No, that's the beauty of the construction to permanent. So you go into it knowing what your terms are going to be. During the construction phase, we bill interest only based on what's used for the loan.
Oh, okay, so that's a good point that I missed. So when you're making your payments, explain that, please.
Sure. So for someone that's building from the ground up, they're going to start off with minimal payments because they haven't started drawing on their funds. And as they draw those funds, maybe they need to make a deposit with their builder, and they draw, $100,000 for materials. We're going to start billing them interest only based on the $100,000, and then once they have another $50,000, and so on. We're billing interest only based on as the money is used. And so during that time, the payment will increase. You get to the end of the loan, and you're going to have the full principal and interest payment, just like a conventional loan would at that point. So
it rolls in rolls to that after it's been approved by the appraiser?
No, it's set up front.
Oh, okay. So in 6 months or 12 months,
yeah,
automatically it rolls into your monthly mortgage payment.
Now, the what if happens so often, which is the client will call me and say, hey, Alicia, my home's not finished. I think we're going to be an extra 2 months. Do I have to make my full payment? And there's situations like that come up all the time. So I work with the client, we modify the loan if needed, and we extend the interest only program and push out that payment. So it happens.
Very good. That's very good.
It is. It's very exciting.
Anything else that you want to add to the construction loan?
Just how flexible it is, and so many aspects of it. And touching on what you were bringing up initially with what if a client is buying land and they want a couple construction? That's a perfect scenario. But I would propose, what if they want to buy land but they don't have that construction plan that's ready? They haven't designed and worked with their architect. They can look at a land loan. So they could take that step, buy the land loan, and then a year later come in and do the construction loan.
Okay, I wasn't planning on this, but tell us about the land loan.
Okay, so land loans require a little bit more money down. So if you found some land for a client, it's a build-ready lot, there's power at the road, the land is cleared, it's literally ready to be built upon. An example I'd give would be, usually it's a lot in a subdivision, and so it's build-ready. Build-ready is 25% down.
Oh, okay.
And on the flip side, if they find raw land and it's several acres and it's wooded, it's not ready to be built upon, but it's something that for their long-term dream, they're buying it, they're going to pick away at it and start clearing the property themselves. That's going to require 35% down.
Okay.
From there, I have loan terms that could vary. As far as, we might have a 3-year time note for them. That's great for someone who's looking to immediately get the land ready, and then they're going to pay off the time note because they're going to do a construction loan.
Okay.
So that offers the best rate scenario.
So when you say 3-year, they don't pay it off as if they're gonna pay it off in 3 years, or do they? Or do they pay it off like a 30-year term and 3 year? Like, you know how you have balloon payments at the end?
That's a time note.
Okay.
So that would be that scenario. That loan I would only recommend for someone who has great intentions of actually paying it off. Say they know they have some sort of income source or income coming in that's going to pay it off, or they're going to build on it.
Okay.
So if their intentions are to build and they're still going to owe money on it because we're billing them for interest only on a time note, but the construction's going to be happening next year, they pay it off with a construction loan.
Okay, so I missed that piece of interest only. That's amazing. So they pay interest only for 3 years, and then it has to be paid off completely.
It must be paid off.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
very
interesting.
Very helpful. Now, if this is a long-term investment, they don't know when they're building on it. They don't know when this is going to be paid off. It's not necessarily something I would recommend, because then they might be up against where the interest rate's going to be at the end of 3 years, and they have to refinance it or pay it off.
Okay.
So for those scenarios, we offer longer term. So I have a 15-year fixed, or I have an adjustable rate land loan.
Okay.
So there's options.
So what about if someone has, if you said like build ready, who determines what's build ready?
I usually ask the questions from the client. So if they're doing a pre-approval, we we talk at a high level to say, okay, this is what it would be build ready, and then here's what would be raw land.
If it's a cleared field that has like a driveway permit.
Perfect.
And it has power at the street, it's a few acres, it's not too far removed from the street, that could be a build ready lot.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
I'm learning a lot, Alicia.
Yes, I'm so glad.
My wheels are turning.
Oh, good. I love it. I love dreams. Versus that raw land, it's a wooded parcel. It's not ready. There's no place you could literally today build a house.
Okay, so I'm stuck on this 30-year. What about an investor? Is that a good loan for them? If someone is doing like, their land and they're dividing it.
It could be. They would, if it's a clear situation, I'd be having a conversation up front to understand the long-term purpose. What's the immediate purpose, and then the long-term. If the immediate purpose is they're buying this land, they're going to sit on it, and then down the road they're going to maybe split it up. But they're buying it personally. There's no business involved. Yes.
It has to be bought personally.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then I'm going to be helping them. If this is a situation where they're coming to me and they're saying, okay, I've got the subdivision ready, I'm going to want to put in the septic and the water plans, and we're going to do all this development, then I'm going to say, hey, let's talk to my commercial lender. Because they have that bigger plan, and clearly there's a business purpose that's happening.
Okay, I see. So it would be a commercial land loan versus a residential if it's a subdivision.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also very clarifying. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Any other loan programs that you want to mention that are your favorites?
Oh, we've touched on them. Those first-time home buyer programs and construction loans. I've worked for corporate banks and I've worked for First National, and I'm totally with you on our construction loan programs. They're so flexible. We monitor them in branch. Each loan officer is monitoring their own files, even though it has to be approved by loan operations. We're the ones watching the budget and working with the clients and the general contractors, and it makes a huge difference.
What is the best, thank you for all of that, what is the best program? So what if you have a house that you're already living in and you want to make major changes to it?
Construction loan, unless, let's say...
How do you do that?
Well, yeah, that would be construction estimates, same exact process.
So if you already own your home, you just roll your current mortgage into the construction.
And so I would help assess, and we'd figure out, okay, what is the current mortgage rate in term that's remaining? Do you have a really attractive rate? Do we want to touch it? Do you have a lot of equity as you sit right now?
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's a ton of equity in the property, maybe we talk about a home equity loan so that we can leave the current mortgage be and retain that great rate, and then we just tack on this home equity.
How does a home equity loan work?
Good question. So a home equity, I usually will have the client conversation and say, okay, what is the value of your property? What do you think you could sell this property for as it sits right now?
Mm-hmm.
Without any renovations, if they're thinking about those things. And they give me a figure, and I'll multiply that by 80% because we lend up to 80% of that total value of the property. From there, I deduct the mortgage, and whatever that difference is the potential equity that we could tap into.
Okay.
And so there's potential they can take that money and use it for whatever they wish.
What's the length of a home equity loan?
Depends on what we do. We could talk about a variable rate line of credit, home equity, a HELOC, they're commonly known as, or we could talk about a fixed rate installment loan. And so the fixed rate terms range from 5 to 20 years. It just depends on what the client selects and what the best payment option is for them.
And they're both 80% of value.
They are.
Okay. Very good.
Yes, all kinds of options.
Yes, my wheels are turning for
Oh,
myself. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming and chatting about all of this. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Likewise. Thank you for guiding me through these. Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much for listening.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh no.
What?
Holy crap.
What, Rachel?